All right, the biggest story in the NFL the last 24 hours has been Brian Flores' landmark lawsuit, which could, in fact, finally bring about the sea change when it comes to head coach and general manager and even coordinator opportunities for coaches of color, black coaches in particular. And there's a lot of ways to go about effectuating change. One is through a lawsuit in the courts. Another is through the formation of the National Coalition of Minority Football Coaches, which our guest, and now we call him friend of the show. This is appearance number 2. Last time we had you on, Coach Michael Locksley from the University of Maryland. Last time we had you on, you were about to play in the Pinstripe Bowl. Your Terps handle business. Congratulations. But before we get into this conversation, Coach, you got to tell the people what we were talking about off camera. I asked you whether you preferred Mike or Michael, because I know I go by either one. Michael Holly likes Michael, and you said call you Locks, but I said, but when we introduce you though, should we introduce you as Mike or Michael? Which do you go by? And you said,
yeah, I said I was advised a while ago, in my earlier coaching career, I ran into some trouble of maybe being a little hostile or maybe angry. And it was told that the use of Michael would soften the blow, and especially for me, if I smiled a little bit more and I used Michael, I wouldn't come across so aggressive. So I'll go by Michael right now, or Locks.
That is, hey, Locks. 2 things. 1, that's real talk. 2, you came to the right place. That makes 3 of us, okay? You're in good company. The glasses, like Leon on Curb Your Enthusiasm said, the glasses helps for us, but sometimes that doesn't help.
Right.
Which leads, this is the perfect conversation to be having. These are the types of things that we have to concern ourselves with when it comes to conducting ourselves in the workplace. So I'll just start completely open-ended. When you saw Coach Flores, the news of his lawsuit, come out yesterday, your reaction was what?
You know what? I equated it to something that happens in the NFL. When a play is called, coaches have the ability to throw a challenge flag, which then in turn forces the referees to go under the hood, maybe send it to New York, have it analyzed and evaluated to get it right. I think what Coach Flores has done is thrown a challenge flag toward the hiring process of the NFL. And let's see if we'll get up underneath the hood and be able to evaluate a process that obviously, the way it looks with 9 jobs that were open and we're over for minority hires, maybe they'll send it to New York and go in and figure out how to get it right, kind of like they do within the course of a game.
Coach, I listened to Brian Flores. I read his statement, but listened to him today in several interviews. And he said he went to this interview with the Giants knowing that somebody else had gotten the job. And he was asked, why did he do it? He said, well, I believe in the goodness of people. And I believe even though this job was locked up, I believe that, hey, maybe I can change their mind. And, it really resonated with me because I had a text conversation similar to that with Michael Smith after the show yesterday. I won't use the language, but I would say, sometimes you kind of feel like a sucker for believing in being hopeful and believing in the goodness of people. Do you understand where Coach Flores is coming from, and how might you handle a situation where you know that the deck is stacked against you and you try to do the right thing anyway?
Yeah, as we evaluate the hiring process, it's almost damned if you do, damned if you don't, because when you turn it down, then you find yourself defending yourself, kind of like Jim Caldwell ended up having to put out a statement on his own that he allegedly turned down opportunities at jobs. And then those statistics go into, well, we tried to meet with certain guys. And so I think it's between a rock and a hard place for minority coaches. The Rooney Rule and its intent, sounded good, but, it's hard to have a rule when there's not a lot of context behind the rule. And so to me, it's more like a Rooney suggestion. And I just think that, as for minority coaches with these opportunities that are presented based on, things like the Rooney Rule, I think it does probably more damage than good.
I keep laughing when I think about the NFL statement yesterday. These accusations are meritless. Let the Giants, the Dolphins, and the Broncos speak to the specific accusations, but the idea of there being a problem when it comes to diversity in the head coaching ranks, you have a rule. That rule mandates that you meet with black coaches in person, that you meet with more than one. If you have a rule, then that speaks for itself that there's a problem. But Coach, there's a number of ways to address that problem. And one, as we mentioned, is through the court system. The other, in your case, is founding the National Coalition of Minority Football Coaches. And there's more than one way to bring about change. Can you take us through your process, like when you decided that not only did you need to take action, but this was the kind of action that you were going to take, as opposed to maybe a lawsuit or something else or what have you? I'm sure you went through a lot of different iterations of what kind of action you were going to take. And also, Coach, if I may add, knowing that there's a possibility that it could in some ways compromise your career, even something like a coalition of football coaches.
Yeah, I'm really fortunate, Mike, that I work at an institution where, I have a minority athletic director that's my boss, as well as a minority president here at the University of Maryland, and we're in the richest minority area in the world. When I started this organization, I started during a pandemic. I did some self-reflection as to where we were from a football standpoint. I grew up during the BCA era, where the late Coach John Thompson and Nolan Richardson and George Raveling and these guys really stood in the forefront to bring some of these same issues to light. Now, this organization is staying very football-centric, but I think the genesis of our iteration of the coalition basically is that I'm always a solution-based person. I'm always looking for solutions. We all can tell you what the problems are, but what the coalition is here to do is to try to find and create solutions to these issues in diversity and hiring, especially in the collegiate field as well as the NFL. And I can tell you, we created an academy within the coalition this year in the college game. And by no means am I saying we got it right, because we just scratched the surface a little. But, we had 15 minority coaches that were part of this academy that we paired up with athletic directors like Barry Alvarez and Bernard Muir and Whit Babcock. And out of this group of 13 individuals, 3 guys ended up getting head jobs. Marcus Freeman at Notre Dame, Tony Elliott at Virginia, and then Jay Norvell moving from Nevada to Colorado State. And we also had a host of other guys that were part of this 15 that were finalists for a lot of jobs at the college ranks, but we have not been able to crack the code with the NFL. And it's disappointing, especially when you look at, right now, the early hiring cycle for the NFL does not look good for us. And the coalition's job is to figure out why and try to create a pathway to help improve this area.
Speaking of disappointing, listen, I know I'm being naive. Talk about believing in the good of people, Michael. Sometimes I just like to believe in the common sense of people, but a lot of times they don't care how it looks. But the reality that we all recognized yesterday as black men, as black people who live in America, we all recognize that Brian Flores filing this lawsuit probably ended his NFL coaching career, if not his coaching career in general. And I said, well, but if it did, wouldn't that be an admission, a tacit admission on the part of the NFL? Wouldn't that be the NFL telling on itself, as if they actually care? Colin Kaepernick says, hi. I say that to say, Coach, as a coach, like Michael and I could see it from, our positions and our experiences, but as a coach, how does it make you feel hearing that and realizing that Brian Flores may never coach again because he stood up to this system of institutional racism and discrimination?
It's disappointing. And, as an organization, we're monitoring it very closely. Obviously, he's put himself on an island. And as an organization, we want to be here to lend support as we monitor this litigation that just started. As an organization, again, we're here to be solution based. And it's unfortunate that he had to almost become a martyr to bring this issue to light again and again. And again, it's a lot like the dog chasing its tail. This isn't the first time. When this happened yesterday, I went back and listened to the late Coach Thompson when he was at Bill Clinton's sports town hall deal in 1998, and he talked about just why did we have to be perfect to get head coaching opportunities. And he said, really all we're asking for is a chance to fail like everybody else. And so, as an organization, we're going to continue to try to be solution-based. We're going to continue to hold people accountable for their processes in trying to hire minority coaches. The collegiate game is a little fortunate because we have some parameters and some things in place that kind of reinforce that you do it the right way. But like I said, that challenge flag that Coach Flores threw yesterday, it'd be interesting to see if they go and review it like they do things within their games.
Excuse me, Michael. I know you want to get in here. I just got one more question for you, Coach, and I'm done, and I'll let Michael finish up with you. I just had one more. In your expert and informed and well-connected and plugged-in opinion, do you think other coaches will join this class action suit with Coach Flores?
It's hard to speculate, but I would imagine that, if that's how Coach Flores feels, there's a host of others that have gone through the car wash of the NFL system in terms of interviewing. It'll be really interesting, and that's something that as an organization, the coalition is going to monitor very, very closely. And again, with our members, something that we need to find out.
My final question for you, Coach, really is connected to coaching itself with you, with you or others that you've spoken with, because there seems to be, we know one of the obvious reason we have a problem when it comes to black head coaches in football. But I'm wondering, under that umbrella, are there some specifics? In other words, have they been honest enough with you to share, hey, I had this misconception. I thought because you were a black head coach, you would fill in the blank. Or some of your colleagues who have said to you, man, can you believe this? This is what I had to deal with. Like, what are some of those, what's that story, or what are some of those stories that you've experienced or heard about?
Yeah, there's a host of them, Michael, in terms of, the coaches that are part of our organizations, coaches that are close friends of mine, and even members and people that are involved with the coalition. We've all have our stories to tell in terms of what we have to go through. You look at just the history of the amount of opportunities and the time we get to try to turn programs around in relations to our counterparts. Not equal playing field. And one of the things we keep talking about is that this moving goalpost, that every time we try to answer the question as to why we're not getting them, something else happens and the goalpost moves. And what we've got to do is just continue to study this thing. And again, continue to focus on being solution-based, because again, we all know the issue. We all know the problem. Sometimes we zoom in to fix issues, but I think what we ultimately have to do is zoom out to be able to see the big picture of things. And, that's what the coalition's all about, and that's what we were formed to do.
Locks. We can call you Locks now. We appreciate you. Thank you so much. Hey, and I meant to tell you this the last time we had you. I thought about it afterward. I was so focused on the Pinstripe Bowl and all of a sudden we're talking about, tell B. Stu that Mike Smith said, what up? Okay? Like,
you got it.
We all family. Please tell B. Stu that you talked to me today. I owe him a call, if you don't mind that.
I'm sure he's listening. He's listening.
Shout out to B. Stu. Brian Stewart. All right, Coach. Thanks so much. We appreciate you. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks for watching Brother from Another on YouTube. Make sure you hit subscribe before you leave, and be sure to watch us 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Peacock. Appreciate you.